This is going to be a very interesting episode of Just One More Topic. This is episode 78 of Just One More Topic, as I said before. And I am Tridrakious.
And I am Mad Joker.
So this is post-Tiberius, and apparently December is known as a month that not a whole lot of information releases for the public to be able to partake in. However, with the launch of the new Game Awards and Sony's own PlayStation Experience, their kind of E3 conference style thing in December now that is apparently going to become an annual thing, there's a shit ton to talk about. Kind of leading off with the other news that Ralph Baer, father of video games, passed away yesterday. 92 years old, created the first video game console with the Magnavox. Pong.
Easy there.
Pong was...
If you need to send hate mail, we'll leave a link in the comments below.
Yes, so that aside, father of video games, our pastime, our hobby, some people's careers, addictions. Talking to you, Tiberius. He, passed away at 92. Great innovator.
Definitely.
But in other news, the Game Awards, EA and BioWare won Game of the Year with Dragon Age Inquisition, which, it's a fantastic game. My one major complaint is that when everyone says something, it's like they're in a cathedral. Everything just echoes, no matter where they're at. And it's kind of off-putting at first.
You get used to it. About 5 minutes. No, never mind. You really don't.
It just doesn't. Like everyone just...
Yeah.
They sound like they're in a cathedral the entire time. Whether it's a forest, whether it's in a village, whether it's in a cathedral, it doesn't matter. So, kudos to them. It is a fantastic game. The RPG elements, if you haven't played it, you really should have, because they completely made up for everything that they screwed up with Dragon Age 2.
Yeah, a lot better than the last one.
Exactly. So, kind of rushing through that to get to the PlayStation Experience conference that Sony did over the weekend, because there was a multitude of new game announcements. One, Street Fighter V, exclusive for the PlayStation 4, will feature cross-platform play with the PC gamers out there. PS4, PC cross-platform play, which I find kind of interesting. There really isn't very many games that do that, and a game that is so crucial about timing, kind of curious how it's going to perform.
Especially between, a console and a PC. Granted, a console is essentially still a computer, but the timings on either system are going to be completely different from each other. PCs are different from one another, and that's also why you don't see too many fighting games on PC as is.
But then it also comes down to controller latency.
That.
The DualShock 4 versus keyboard and mouse, or possibly just using a DualShock 4 on the PC. Who knows? But when using a DualShock 4 on the PC, how is its latency going to stack up to what's with the PlayStation 4 using the DualShock 4? So timing is going to be very crucial.
Yeah.
But the biggest news about this is the fact that Sony is funding and actually helping with the development of the title, which completely, mind blown there that Capcom and Sony are actually working on the next mainline Street Fighter game, and a first-party company is actually, putting up money.
So wait, two big names are actually working together and not at each other's throat for once?
It doesn't happen very often.
What is the world coming to?
Well, this kind of leads to some speculation that Sony might be in line to purchase Capcom. They're working with them on developing Street Fighter V, going so far to help fund the project. They're also working on Ultra Street Fighter 4 for the PlayStation 4, and I think for PC as well. So 2 Street Fighter titles, and if you remember back in May or June, somewhere around that time frame, Capcom decided not to renew their hostile takeover plans. So if a company comes up and we're buying you,
i.e. Sony.
Yeah.
Or Nintendo.
That would be interesting. But Nintendo did strike up a partnership with Namco for the new Super Smash Bros. Titles, so maybe it's more Namco going with Nintendo and Capcom going with Sony and someone else going with Microsoft. Who knows?
But not necessarily a bad thing. I think Sony could actually use a fighting game department, one that actually has experience in the field, not so much what they try to do with their All Stars.
And yeah, which that is a nice little segue to the fact that Sony, when they created Superbot Entertainment, they headhunted a bunch of fighting game specialists, and Seth Killian is one of the few that actually survived the closure of that studio to stay at Sony Santa Monica. And he was one of the top executive producers at Capcom for things like Street Fighter and Marvel vs. Capcom and stuff like that. So there is some support going out there for the speculation that Sony might purchase
Exactly.
Capcom. In other news, Troy Baker, the voice actor who has voiced main characters from like Batman and Bioshock and I think Borderlands and a bunch of other games, is actually teaming up and playing the voice of Nathan Drake's brother in the upcoming Uncharted 4, which means that you've got the two most used voices in video games ever in one game. You've got Nolan North as Nathan Drake, and you've got Troy Baker as his brother, who I don't remember his name, but I'm sure his last name is Drake.
So it's going to sound like almost every other video game between two characters.
Yes, which means that Uncharted 4 is going to be the absolute ultimate package. You will get to experience every game ever in a single release.
Slightly terrifying, not going to lie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's kind of weird. But I think Troy Baker also did voice for the main character in Shadows of Mordor. I don't remember, but the voice sounded kind of familiar. But anyway, correct me if I'm wrong. I might be wrong, but I'm the internet savior, so even if I'm wrong, I'm right. So now, but outside of that, Uncharted 4 gameplay trailer, or well, not trailer, live demo of actual gameplay. The game's still a year out, so it still looks gorgeous, but still has room to improve. And from the audio, from the actual gameplay that they had, seems like a lot of rehashed stuff from Uncharted 3, which could just be audio filler to not give away any little bits and pieces of story so early on. Who knows? But Street Fighter V, Ultra Street Fighter 4, Uncharted 4, David Jaffe actually announced his next new game, which is called Drawn to Death. It's a sketchbook game, and from the guy that created Twisted Metal and God of War. So very stylized. It kind of resembles Mad World, if anyone remembers that from the Wii, which probably not. The Sin City style game, but very blood and gory. Lots of blacks and whites and reds.
Your three primary colors. It's about all you need.
Yeah, that's all you really. Yeah,
Good standard.
Yeah, nice. Let's see. Oh, yeah, I forgot. We were talking about Sony Santa Monica.
Yes.
And the lead person at Sony Santa Monica is Cory Barlog, and he let slip during one of the Q&A sessions at the end of the conference that yes, Sony is working on a brand new God of War. Now, didn't say anything outside of that. There's no word on whether or not Kratos will return, if it's a reboot, but he did say it is guaranteed to not be a prequel. Because, yeah.
We have way too many bad prequels as is.
Mm-hmm.
The pre-sequel from Borderlands, not bad, but
that's a prequel to a sequel that came out after the original. So, you
know. Does it count?
Yeah. Sure. It's Telltale.
But whether it's actually a new addition to a game where they killed off everybody, or if it's just a new, or if it's just a new artwork on an old edition, which would be entirely fantastic for the series. I mean, I don't think they've really gone back and done too many of those, if any of those, with the God of War yet.
Yeah. So, I mean, we've seen what 343 Industries has been able to do with Halo.
Look beautiful.
And that's about it. Everything else has been broken. But, you know, Forbes magazine actually has publicized a little bit of information of their speculation in regards to what they think is going to happen. You know, the industry all focuses on E3 during the summer.
Yes.
That's the big thing. Like all major developers, console manufacturers, first party studios, they all go to E3 and they have all these nice, flashy conferences, all this fun stuff. But then there's really, like, you've got Gamescom, you've got PAX, you got GDC, but there's nothing that really has that feel. PlayStation Experience, everyone's been talking about, it had that E3 feel. It had the big names. It had everyone going to Las Vegas to watch what was going to happen.
It was actually really exciting to watch too. I think they had a lot of good conferences. I mean, they had a lot of good information that came out of that.
Yeah, I mean, tons of games. I mean, even the Vita got some games announced, like Bastion coming to Vita and random number calling. And of course, you know, various other things, like there was a Persona 5 PS4 trailer, Yakuza 5 is coming to the West. But one thing that Forbes talked about was the fact that outside of E3, there's really nothing like that for the rest of the year. So having something kind of like that so close to Christmas pretty much gives Sony a great lead going into the Christmas time because everyone's trying to figure out, well, what do I want to buy? What's the next thing I'm going to own?
Releasing a lot of the big new names and a lot of new equipment and all the new stuff. Getting your word back out there right before a buying holiday season, fantastic, and is a great move by Sony.
So Forbes speculates that next year we can expect a Xbox experience. But
please say no.
At the same time, you need content to be able to do that, and Halo can only go so far. So there is that. Nintendo has been kind of doing their own thing with their directs, and they haven't really done anything with E3 for a while. I mean, this year was the first time that they were, you know, kind of returned to the E3 stage in about 2 years.
They phoned it in.
Yeah,
literally Skype.
Literally, yeah. It was like it was a pre-recorded conference, so of course everything's gonna go well. But yeah, like right before the Christmas, you know, shopping buying frenzy, Microsoft won Black Friday, but various news outlets are saying that Sony is going to win Christmas because just a couple weeks before Christmas, they were talking about all this brand new stuff that's going to be releasing within the next year.
Yeah.
So there's that.
And what better way to get all your new stuff out there with all the single bomb frenzy piranha that are going on for the season? Yeah, it was a great smart move for them.
So does that mean that next year we'll see more like, you know, more Nintendo Directs or more in the way of like Microsoft trying to do their own conferences? Or I mean, Sony already said that this is annual, so the PlayStation Experience is coming back next year. Will it have as big of an impact? Who knows? But I'm sure you can post all that stuff in the comments and like and favorite all that kind of stuff to keep in touch and spread the word. So I think Samsung also announced that they're making a VR headset that's available now for $200, and
it's a bad price range.
It's available now. So there's another VR headset out there, you know, along with Project Morpheus coming out pretty soon, and of course Oculus Rift, which kind of got the whole ball rolling with virtual reality. But
haven't heard much from them lately.
Yeah, that's who knows what's really happening over there in the Facebook Oculus Rift empire of. I don't know where I'm going with that. So
Farmville, lots and lots of Farmville.
Probably that. So I believe that's it. Kind of a meaty episode. I am Tridrakious.
I'm Mad Joker.
And we will see you next week with episode 79 of Just One More Topic, and probably on its actual release time. So we will see you next time.